Hey, what's up everybody? Jamie here with another quick tip video on the Elektron Digitakt. Today we're going to see how we can get chords and pad sounds out of the Digitakt using just samples and the built-in filters and envelopes. Check it out, I got some preloaded drum samples here. And I've got a sequence loaded up that I did off camera that sounds like this. So one of the things you'll notice there is that that drum pattern is 4 bars long. The chord sequence was 8 bars long. If you want to know more about how to do that, you can check out my video on the scale and track length feature in my previous video. Link in the description, should pop up on the screen right now. Alright, so let's get right into it. This is the chord sound that this was, wow. I did not realize I had done that. Well, it didn't sound bad how it was. Anyway, that was a leftover, one of those. That's why I had those little loop clicks. Yeah, that's a lot cleaner. Anyway, so that's resampled the same way you would do on an SP404, and it came from. Let's copy this track. This is a bass sound that I came up with. We can remake that. I'll put it in there. You just hold all 3 at the same time, and this seems silly because you only have 8 samples, so you're using 3 of them just for the notes of a chord, but that's the easiest way to get it to resample and get those chords that can be replayed. And I just did it as a minor 7th chord. If you're interested in music theory, there's a million videos on YouTube about all that kind of stuff. If you want to see some of the music theory stuff here on the Digitakt, I can make a video about that in the future. Let me know in the comments below.
It starts with this.
This is a sample that I took from
something like this. And
a demo video on a synthesizer, on a modular synth, and it had some cool sounds in there. So one of the things you can do is take single cycle waveforms. Now you can't zoom in the view to see if it's a single cycle unless you resample the whole thing. But as you can see, if I set that on, this is on, normally it's on forward. That's the default. Make that a little bit longer, just to give it some movement. And set this to forward L, that's forward loop. You could set it to a reverse loop if you like that envelope better, whatever the way your waveform is going. And like I said, you can get single cycle waveforms. If you sample this, then you can zoom in when you set your cut points and truncate it. But I'm just going to be using this for today. So the first thing we're going to do is go into the filter section and set a low pass filter, pretty low. Maybe like there. Make it a little louder. Okay. Bring some resonance in, just a little bit. And some envelope depth. we'll bring some attack, so it, instead of starting at the open and then slowly closing, well, not so slowly, this envelope is a little bit fast, it'll slowly open and then close. Let's see if I can get like a little bit of a cleaner loop by changing the length. There, less of a pop. You just gotta, if you're doing it by the sample, you want to look for the zero crossing where the waveform goes above the axis and then below the axis, right where it crosses, there's going to be less of a click there, if that's where you cut your samples. We'll go to the amp envelope page, set some attack on there so it fades in, and we'll set the fade out to be a little bit longer. Maybe a little longer? Maybe we'll set the release on... You can't see it here because the sustain is all the way down. If we bring the sustain up, you can see the shape of the release curve here. The angle of it, but we'll leave that all the way down. That sounds a little more natural. You can't tell if it sort of fades out the filter as it fades out the note, which is really what we're going for. Overdrive could make it a little too crunchy. I like that it's smooth. Seems like it just makes it louder right now. And we're gonna bring in some delay and reverb, just like a bunch, because this is just gonna be washy. And we're gonna set the delay feedback up here. I think this defaults something like this. And something like this is the default, I'm pretty sure. So I put some reverb on the delay, so every delay feedback is also sent to the reverb. Cut out some more of the lows and cut out a little bit of the highs, so it's a little bit, you only get the mids and it's not too shimmery and it doesn't make any mud from the low end. Bring the feedback up a little bit higher, widen that, and have it ping pong back and forth. Though I'm not sure when you resample it, it won't get the back and forth, because resampling into the device, even though you can record a stereo sample, it only plays that sample back as mono. You can only fit one mono sample into any of these slots. But that should give a stereo field for playback right now. You should be able to hear that on the left and right a little bit, ping pong back and forth. So the next we're going to go into the reverb section, turn the decay up. I like to turn the pre-delay off. Again, cut out some of the lows, cut out a little bit of the highs, make this pre-compression, and this is saying only reverberate the low stuff, cut out the high stuff. I'm saying we want more of that high. The threshold for what do we consider high, and a little bit more of it when we get up there. Let's see if the compressor's already on, so that's good. That means if there's a reverb tail, it'll be before the compressor, so if the kick comes in, it'll duck the reverb. Otherwise, the reverb will go over top of the kick, which maybe sometimes that's what you want, but I think it gives it a little bit more of that effect if we have in the amp section, if we have the reverb set pre-compressor. So we'll come back here and we'll take a look at the LFO as the last thing, because now we have a decent sounding synth. And for some reason that's just going forever, isn't it? We're gonna copy this to these slots. So we're gonna hold track and hit copy. And then we're gonna go to track 7, paste it, track 6, paste it, track 5, paste it. Now, if we go to our original, we'll see that the tuning is set, if you hold this down, all these numbers show up. It's set to 1. Now we can set that to 0. Set all these to 0. And now we can, these are all the same. This will be 0, this will be plus 3 for a minor third. Now we have a chord already. We'll set the next one up 7 semitones. That's a perfect fifth. And the fourth note up 10 semitones? 9? I forget. We'll see what sounds better or worse. One will be nice and the other one will be totally wrong. Let's see if we get this right on the first try. Yeah. So I don't know what note this is. Let me check against my keyboard here. This is a G. So that'll be a B flat, D natural, and an F. Now all we have to do is go into the sampling page, set it to internal. Default might be external left and right. If you have Overbridge installed and a USB connected to your computer, these USB inputs will also be listed here. But we'll go internal left and right. Set the threshold to probably 1 is fine, 1 or 2. So that way it doesn't start recording right when you hit yes. It'll wait for a sound, but it won't wait until a big sound because we want that initial swell to be captured. So it's armed to record. I'm going to hit all 4 of these at the same time. Could roll them. Because it's so washy and fades in, it probably won't have that much of an effect. But here you go. Wait until you hear that fade all the way out. Listen for it. All right, close enough. And we can now save this as today is October 15th, 2019. Cool. Let's assign it to a pad, a slot, a button. These aren't pads, they're buttons. Whatever. Get that out of there. Now we should have a chord here. So the reason it sounds different, as you may have noticed in the beginning, is because I took that little loop from the source sample. We want to set the markers, and now it's going backwards. We want to set this to just forward. You can turn the filter off, the envelope off, resonance down. You can turn the delay and the reverb off. So the way that I got multiple different chords was pretty simple. Just go into chromatic mode. It changes the timbre of the sound a little bit. It changes the way that the speed of those fluctuations, the warbles in there, and the original had a delay that was captured. So the delay speed changes when you play different chords, when you speed it up and slow down this sampled chord. And that has sort of a cool effect when you're making something that's a little bit lo-fi, that our ears are already a little bit used to things going a little bit out of tune, a little bit push and pull. So these were the chords that I used in that sequence in the beginning. Was G minor 7, E flat minor 7, C minor 7, and then bars 5 through 8 were G minor 7, E flat minor 7, and B flat minor 7. clear this sequence and set it to, all right, that's all set up. We'll turn on the metronome, just so I can play this in live. We'll turn on global quantize, so you don't know how poorly I played it. And yeah, I get a pre-roll bar. Something like that. Close enough. We'll just pull this to 2 bars for tracks 4, tracks 3, 2 and 1. So now it only uses the first 2 bars of what I played. Close enough. This is a different tempo than I was expecting it to be, but that's all right. All right, let's have that. Not that one. This one, we'll put a trig condition to have it play on the first of every 2. So now it'll be the pattern that I intended to play. Yeah, perfect. Now we can go to the chords and go into chromatic mode, go down an octave, and do the same thing. There you have it. Pads and chords from samples on the Digitakt. Hope you enjoyed that little tune, and thanks for watching all the way to the end. Subscribe to see more like this. Click like down below if that's something that you're into. Leave a comment. Let me know if this is something that could be useful to you and your music that you make. Check me out on Instagram at cello_789, and I'll see you in the next one.